Welcome to McCarthy Performance. Today we'll be talking about pistons and tooling for machines and machine equipment. So I hope you find this video interesting. I'm trying to keep you guys to watch my videos more than less. It looks like less than 3 minutes, but thanks for watching. Okay, this is what I wanted to show you is that you can do a lot of different things a lot of different ways. Of course, we could put it on center if it wasn't a 3-jaw and it didn't hit the skirt. On the small block Chevrolets and a lot of Pistons, not necessarily forged because they're usually more profiled. There'll be a fairly flat spot on here that you can set the jaws on. Unfortunately, the skirts hit and you can't get it on center. So if you don't run it real fast, you can cut them that way too. These jaws are hardened, and I might make some cover overs for these that are made out of aluminum and just use longer bolts and bolt right through them and hold on the aluminum covers, and they would grab the oil ring rail. That's another option. I'll show you the setup on it. It's real simple. You don't necessarily have to run it that fast. I didn't spend any time on this. I just wanted to show you what I have done. I've done a lot of different things in the past. This lathe is an old lathe, obviously, and I didn't spend any time on tooling, degreeing the piston in or nothing. I just made a couple cuts on it just to show you. What I have is I have a through bar going through the lathe, the headstock, I guess it would be correct terminology. And I've taken an old hardware eye bolt and I've welded the end of it so it can't move. And I've just welded it so it won't open up. And I've ground a little flat on it on some pistons it'll hit. I've just taken some all thread with a coupler, jam nut it. That's the end for the goes on it, just like that. Here's another set of jaws that I made that the original chuck jaws weren't hardened. It was a import small chuck, and I made these, and I drilled and tapped the chuck, and these slipped over them and tightened up. These didn't work quite that good. I couldn't get enough pressure on it because it wanted to do this. So I put a flat in it here, and then I had a hose clamp, basically a big heavy-duty hose clamp on it. So, they got to be probably about half that size, but I had these on a rotary table, and I was doing pistons that way, and you could limp by. And, of course, We did them on the BHJ piston vise, and that's got a lot to be desired, and I've talked about that. This I built because I couldn't afford a piston vise, and at the time I had more time than money, and I had locally we could buy scrap by the pound, and that was a good time for me, because you can see I got some really nice thick pieces of aluminum here for very reasonable, so I made it. This actually this actually works better than the BHJ. This is more rigid. There's a few drawbacks with it, but it's pretty darn rigid. So I thought I'd show you this. I'm probably going to use it. It's been sitting on the shelf for 20 years. I used to do a lot of big block pistons. So the problem with this is I never made any other arbors for any other pistons. This is a 990 pin in here. So we're talking about this vise that I made, and I thought I'd bring a few more things out that I've built. When I started out, I didn't have a lot of money, like I said, but I had a lot of time, and I had the mill and the lathe, and that helps. This is just a cam that I cut down, so if I want to turn the gear around and cut it for a thrust washer, there it is. Of course, here's one for a small block. Here's a big block Chevrolet, and this is to put a dowel pin locating hole in the lower bearing on a big block if you're running aluminum rods. It's real simple. A lot of this stuff is simple, but you don't have to buy everything. I guess that's what I'm indicating here. You know, a lot of guys get discouraged starting out, don't have a lot of money, maybe want to get into this business. And I know this business is dying out. A lot of people don't want to get into it, but you don't have to buy all the tooling. If you have the equipment and you have a little bit of time, you can make it. This is just something simple. It's a chunk of aluminum. It's got a ring on it, sits in there, locates. This is for putting a seal in a big block without pulling the front cover off. This is for putting in the extra keyway and a dampener in a big block Chevrolet. Registers off the keyway in the hub in the dampener, and this allows you to put a broach tool through there and broach out the extra keyway for a blower application. This is for my Tobin ARP machine. My Tobin ARP is a very old machine, and the micrometer on it only reads in thousandths, and you can read half a thousandths between the line, you know, you get close. This will get you right down to 2/10 of a thousandths easily. These are my BHJ setup rings. I don't buy them from BHJ. I bought a few of them, and then of course I had a lathe and I've made them. These are made out of hard plastic. I have a video about these. It's real simple stuff. Some of it's maybe a little more complicated than others, but a lot of this stuff you can make yourself, and I do. And these are Pontiac, you know, where the big housing and the small housing, and I made them all on one, so I don't have to wonder where they are. I just pick them up. So I guess that's what this video is about. When I started out, I didn't have a lot of resources, so I found a place that I could get good deals on little things like little knobs like this, you know, these little Bakelite knobs, and old Federal dial gauges. They're better than the new stuff you get from China. They're so smooth. I mean, you know, if you can get the older dial gauges and that and see them on eBay, buy them. I bought a bunch of these, so of course this is a rod stretch gauge for checking rod stretch. So that's kind of covers it. I've of course made a lot more things, and we'll get into the hone that I built, and there's a video of that, and I'll talk about my seat and guide machine, which I built the top half of that. We'll cover that a little bit in this video. There's videos on my page that covers that a little bit more. Old Tobin Art seat and guide machine, much like a Sonnen. Purchased it from a place in Wisconsin, and the top head was blown off of it, and I didn't have a gearbox for it. I couldn't find nothing. This is a very old machine. Works good. It's the same machine that Sonnen sold for many years, just with a variable head. So I made a variable head for it, and it works. I wouldn't turn down $100,000 seat and guide machine right now, but I mean, this thing has done a lot of valve jobs for me, and I put a lot of guides and a lot of seats in with it, and it works fine. But I made all this stuff. Everything is pretty much made. So I mean, I guess what I'm getting at is you can make a lot of this stuff if you have the time. Yeah, soon how we're getting on to things that I made. I might as well talk about the equipment that I made. I couldn't afford a hone, and I was manually honing engines on an engine stand with cardboard underneath them, and what a mess that was. So I built this machine, and I think I've gone over it. And there's quite a few videos of me talking about this machine, but I thought I'd mention it too. So I didn't have a lot of money to buy a used piece of equipment, and a manual operated hone was fine for me. Figured if I got really busy, I could buy a CK10 eventually. But this is my hone, and I used it for a lot of years, and every part on it is pretty much made. And like I was talking about the surplus, I was able to get a drive for the head from a surplus company. Don't ask me what it worked in, but it works fine for this. And I made the table and the hand nuts and all that stuff right down to the ends. There's some linear shafting in here and some Hyman rod ends that I bought, of course. The variable speed controller and the motor was purchased used, and it works good. It works as good as I've never used anything else, so I can't compare it to much, but I honed a lot of blocks in this. It's down to it, of course you'll need a lathe or a mill, and maybe somebody that has a lathe, or maybe you can purchase a lathe like this one here. I bought this with my mill, and I bought the lathe, and that was a package deal. I've seen lathes like this go for like $1,000. I'd never sell this one for $1,000. It actually is very old, but it actually, if you spend time with it, it does amazing work still for as old as it is. And a lot of the equipment that I have, I've either fixed or built. This I bought outright. That was a big mistake. I won't talk about that. It still irritates me. That was bought from the company that actually originally made it. This was a used machine. And here's my just my old J-head Bridgeport, and I've had it for over 20 years, and it does exactly what I want it to do. And you can retrofit this as a seat and guide machine, and I've done seat and guide work on this on flatheads, but it's a little tricky. It'd be better if it had a variable speed head on it. So I guess from the mill, we're gonna get going on this job today and start on a couple of these pistons. We got this all set to go, so we'll get going on it. Just one of them days. I ought to talk about this really quick. I buff my pistons because the black compound that I use, it breaks all the edges nicely, and it's just quicker for me to do it that way, or at least I think it is. I like doing it that way, so I don't have to spend a whole terrible amount of time doing them like that. But it does take a little bit of time. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you it doesn't, but and I'm a painter, you know, I painted for over 30 years, automotive stuff, and I just like things to be shiny. I can't help it. It's in my blood. so, so I guess we're going to wrap this one up here. Thank you for watching. Hit the like button if you like, and subscribe to the channel, please. Thank you.